That looks good. We're just letting all the people in, so waiting perhaps another minute. So don't worry, we will start very soon. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of familiar names. Geoff from Toronto, long time not seen in person, and 6 o'clock in the morning. So I really hope we will make it valuable for you is that you got up so early. Uh, some more familiar names. That's great to see, but of course it increases the pressure on us so that we will provide you with some interesting information and some interesting discussion points. So, see. So let's start. We have a few minutes past 12. A very warm welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us for this part of our ISWA webinar series. ISWA, I hope that all of you will know the International Solid Waste Association, which is a club, a family of thousands of people who are all active in the municipal waste management business, from all parts of the value chain, academics, local authorities, of course, waste management companies, recyclers, sorters, incinerators, consultants, producer responsibility organizations, you name them. And I think this is making ISWA very special, very unique, and for me, a very fantastic place to be and to be active because you have the chance to speak on eye level to all parts of the value chain, to all parts which are trying to improve the management of municipal waste. So contrary to speaking within your association, you are of course speaking probably on a higher level with your counterparts, but here you have the big advantage that you can open your mind by listening to the views of other people. And in the end, only all of us together can move the thing up. Not one stakeholder is able to solve problems. Usually we need all of you, all of them. And some time ago, we thought we have to try to increase the discussion and the knowledge sharing on European topics, European Union topics, because a lot is going on in Europe with regard to resource management, waste management, circular economy, and all of this has of course tremendous effects to what we are doing on a daily basis. And the latest hot topic in Brussels is the Circular Economy Act. The Circular Economy Act should solve everything. I sometimes have the feeling. Now we have the big chance to improve everything what is going wrong. And if you hear to the Commission just last week during a meeting with the member states, they want to improve the business case for circularity. They want to remove single market barriers, strengthening supply and demand for raw materials, reducing the EU dependence on critical raw material imports, all very high level topics, whereas the member states, I would say, are a little bit more down to the ground. They want to harmonize the end of waste criteria. They want to strengthen the landfill restrictions because we still have too many countries sending too much stuff to landfills. Of course, perhaps understandable from a local situation, but of course, the worst route for waste that we know. Recycled content requirements should be ensured and pushed. Then buzzwords like a stronger we revision, whatever a stronger we revision means. Other countries want to separate the we revision from the Circular Economy Act and not commingle everything. Others would like to harmonize the EPR system. So, like always in the European Union, if you have one topic, you have minimum 28 different opinions. So it is quite difficult to understand what should really be in and what would be best to be in this new legislative approach. And that's why we thought, in the end, the people from the ground, the operators, the affected stakeholders should be asked as well. And that's why we wanted to ask three groups, I would say, three groups of people whom we know very well, who are partly within ISWA as well, to better understand what would they like to put in the Circular Economy Act or in the WE revision. And that's why we have a representative of Oikolite, which is the EPR Association for Producer Responsibility Organizations, active for lamps and lights. So Mark is with us and he will be the first presenter. Then we will move to municipalities who are in the center of all of this from my point of view. They will have to make it happen in their community. And Françoise from ACR Plus, she is heading an association where I would say many front-running municipalities are grouped. Really, municipalities who want to make the circular economy, who want to make environment happening in their responsibility. So I think it's always good to hear and to learn from those who are front running. And at least at last to hear from Axel, who is a consultant at the moment, who had worked for an EPR system for packaging some years, who had worked for an NGO for some years. So from his experience, it is always extremely valuable to understand what is his point of view, because he has seen our topics through so many eyes that I think he can melt it down, mingle it down very often to the right point of view from my side. So I stop my blah blah and will pass it over to Mark. Again, I can only promote ISWA, membership in ISWA. Even for individuals, they have a very cheap, from my point of view, rate that you can become a member of ISWA. Companies have to pay a little bit more, but it is really valuable. So I would like to take this opportunity to promote it so that we even can increase the membership and the discussion point of view for the good. But now, Mark, you have the floor. You are faced not only with the Circular Economy Act, you are faced with a revision of the WE directive as well, probably ending up in the regulation as well, like packaging, like batteries, and all your problems will be solved afterwards.
That would be great. Or that's the beginning of a lot of additional work.
Nightmare like for packaging, but just in breath.
And batteries also, and such regulations. Dear Ole, thank you very much for having me. And I think that's the second time I talked to ISWA. And I remember once was in Bilbao in the Basque country in Spain. I represent Oikolite, and is, as Joachim has introduced you all to, is the voice of PROs for lighting. In lighting, you have the light bulbs and also all those luminaires and lighting products associated, which are all categories of the electronics and electric equipment. Actually, the association is quite new. It has been created 10 years ago, but the schemes, they were existing before, just before they were managed by consultancy style, so that was different. So we have a good representativity in lamps for sure. Some of our members, they are more and more diversifying to other equipment than light bulbs, but also other categories that are also submitted to EPR, for example, batteries. And in some cases, we have even members who are also in packaging, but we are representing here the lighting. All right, so of course, you can imagine that our role here is to be the supporter of the producers' obligations toward we and especially the lighting market. You can see on this map where we have members and also the countries where we don't have members. Okay, we have members in 17 countries and we have a strong affiliate, which is the Producers Association Lighting Europe, right? And from our priorities, I just take a screenshot of our recent brochure. We are, of course, taking advantage of harmonization at maximum at European level through legislation and go for common definitions. So this is a quite important part. For us and for many of you, the EU is this opportunity of harmonization of concepts and way to do. Yeah. One key element is also the various circularity dimensions. I have to observe that some of our members are doing, let's say, more pilot projects in reuse and remanufacturing. This field is very complex, and I have seen from Producers Association that it requests a lot of thinking in terms of techniques, but also legal and all sorts of elements, because at the beginning, our schemes have been created to manage waste. Yeah. Right. So, okay. So these are dimensions that we are working with. And one key aspect, and that is in common with many PRO associations, is ensuring a level playing field. We advocate notably for tackling compliance online through marketplaces. And so we work with many actors in this field. One specific aspect, and this is common to many of you as well, is to have achievable objectives, should it be for the collection or the recycling, something that is realistic. I want to draw for you a landscape where I want to say that the we is evolving more and more, and through the various literature from the EU, you have seen that it is all about to provide strategic resources for the EU. And we, as Joachim has said, will be an important element of the Circular Economy Act. And I don't have a crystal ball to tell you if it will be embedded or if the new WE regulation will be separate. But anyway, that's part of what the EU calls a package. We should not also undermine the role of clean tech to depollute waste from hazardous substances. I think this is quite important. This brings jobs also and technical advancements. And of course, one key aspect for the EU is the recovery of the critical raw materials that you find in the electronics. And also from the political context of the circular economy, they see it as a competitiveness tool for the EU. Not to mention, of course, to be less dependent on others for importing critical resources. So this is the high-level picture. And when we go a little bit digging into those pillars that are there, again, I don't know exactly what will be the dimensions that we will have respectively for Circular Economy Act and WE Directive, but okay, let's say that the WE revision will be part of that package, that's clear. And we will have a framework for EU waste market, a big aspect of the circular economy project, and removing barriers to have secondary raw materials, the fragmentation, and one key important thing for all of us here in this webinar is the extended producer responsibility harmonization, because the EU has observed that the fragmentation in the member states is an obstacle on the single market. So, and even an obstacle to circular economy, let's say. So we are quite interested in those aspects, EPR harmonization, governance. And for the WE, where we can deduct that probably, I know there will be, it's about modernizing the calculation method for the collection, for the EU to better capture WE flows, because I will show you some figures in a moment, and treatment, improving the treatment also for the sake of this recovery of the critical raw materials and other valuable material. And for EPR, will there be specific WE EPR measures, or will it be part of the Circular Economy Act itself? I don't know exactly. So I express my doubts. I would like also to bring you information about a recent piece of legislation that has come a little bit, I would say, as a surprise or part of this simplification shot that the Commission wanted to have. It's about this so-called environmental omnibus for simplifying the legislation. And there are two key measures that have been quite debated, to say the least, is the suspension of the authorized representative for EPR, notably for EU-based producers, and trying to have the harmonization of the frequency of producers to authorities, notably because indeed there are a variety of situations and the EU wants to have it one yearly. Years ago, they failed to harmonize this, and now I have seen from various position papers, including ours at Ecolite, we don't agree with the one yearly. We say maybe more quarterly is better because it is important for the financial flows of the schemes. And now the figures. It is not my figures. These are the figures for the EU. They observe, that for collection of the electronic waste, only 3 member states out of 27 have reached the objectives. That only 40% of the EU waste are recycled, and only 23% of the treatment plants are applying the EU standards. And they have not enough recovery of critical raw material, the fragmented EPR, as they say, and also the current scope with the various categories of E does not adequately allow for enough critical raw material recovery. Yeah. Okay.
2 minutes, Mark.
And now 2 minutes. Then I will go to what are our Ecolite recommendations. Realistic targets, in particular, one aspect with products like electronic is to take count of the real life time of the product. And you have now luminaires that are 15 years and so on. Clear, and that is a bit controversial, clear legal obligations for all actors involved in the management chain. Here we are notably thinking about the retail, the distributors, also logistics and treatment, because you know that the whole system is on the shoulders of the producers. And there are a lot of ways that escape actually producers. And for the governance of EPR, we have a few recommendations. And one of them is to say no to state-run producer responsibility organizations. We are against eco-modulation for lighting. And one key aspect is marketplaces accountability. The online platform, they must verify EPR registration for all sellers. And you know it's a battle that we have all fought together. And finally, a legislation that is enforceable. And here we have a few recommendations for this enforcement. That's it.
Thanks a lot, dear Mark. And I have to admit that I'm shocked to see how few countries are fulfilling the targets. But I can tell you for packaging it is similar. I think 6 or 7 in the latest early warning report in 22 are fulfilling the targets for the municipal waste targets, because we should not forget that municipalities have targets as well, but it looks similar. So most of the countries are not able to fulfill the targets. Is it a problem of the targets? Is it a problem of the ambition? It is a timing problem. I don't know. Perhaps we should discuss more what is the challenge, what is the problem before fixing another round of targets. But this leads me perfectly to François. You work with municipalities. You know much better what they are facing, what they are struggling with. So what do your members see as the opportunity now with the Circular Economy Act? Is there a chance for you to make the life of municipalities easier so that they can deliver? Because without them, the targets or the results will stay the same, or even get worse. So what is your big thought to make it to make it work, François?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your invitation, Joachim and ISWA. And ACR Plus is a member of ISWA, so I'm really happy that once I have the opportunity to share with you our view. So I will share my screen. Yes, here, and you will tell me if it works. I hope it works like that. Is
it
it okay?
works perfectly. Super. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay. So, really, in a nutshell, first of all, I give you here with this slide a little bit of what we are, and Joachim mentioned it already. We're an international network of cities and regions. Yes, ambition one, we say, or front-running one, but we really welcome everybody. What we try to do is really to provide our members with concrete tools and approach to enact this transition towards waste-free circular system in their territories and beyond. We have cities and we have regions in our network. So we combine, let's say, where we produce, where we consume, and trying also to, as much as possible, to have circular territories. So promoting, of course, when it is possible, local economy. So next one, I suppose I have to do it myself, but I have a problem with that. No, sorry, I have a problem. Yeah, okay. So for us, what is important maybe is to mention what are the global challenges. And one of the biggest one, I think, in general, is the geopolitical context. And of course, when you speak about material recycling and it's what do you choose? Waste to energy versus material recycling, and also we need also money, and we are increasing more and more the defense budget. So this is certainly a barrier for the future right now. As Mark mentioned also, we have numerous omnibus focusing on EU competitiveness that could lead to deregulation. So it's a little bit one of our worry also. And the role of the national level, municipalities, they have to comply with the national and European targets. I mean, they are the most close to the one who produce waste and who has to be, let's say, a more environmental behavior or more behavior towards more recovery of material. But we completely rely on the national legislation and the European legislation. We do not have all in our hands, so not always easy. We have also some problem with incomplete or absence of regulation. And we see it perfectly now with the PFAS pollution. It's not linked to, let's say, waste management as such, but I mean, material waste management, but it's also a big concern for municipalities because we know where we can find PFAS and how it can be a problem when we develop our we do our competence on wastewater management, but not only. And of course, another big issue is the fact that when we speak about circular economy, we should speak much more about product regulation before waste management regulation. And on that also, municipalities are at the end of the chain, so not easy. And we have seen it in Europe recently with the textile waste crisis. So trying to, I have a problem with my mouse. Okay, yeah. What are our challenges now? We need to be realistic. Ongoing increase of cost, requirements and targets, but also with ways that fail to be a financial resource. We always say that waste is a resource, but not all of them. And so it's still a cost for municipalities. So what about the EPR cost coverage principle? Not yet fully implemented in the 27 member states. And municipal waste aims to supply secondary raw material, but it's still a public service. So we need to be aware of that. It means that we have a lot of different ways to collect. Not all of them can become secondary raw material, and we need to collect waste on a regular basis, independently of what is it made of. So not always easy. And we have also to deal with the circular shortcomings of the whole product value chain. increase of waste quantities, unfortunately, non-reusable, non-recyclable fraction. We need to collect everything. And effort asked to citizens are not always proportional to the environmental impact or in absence of adequate recycling routes. As already mentioned, a clear example is the textile crisis. We do not have enough recycling facilities in the EU. So now what we hope to get, and we don't know if we will get it, to move forward, first of all, municipalities, they need clear guidance, knowledge on effective instrument and practice. So we need more data at local level and focus on quality. You know, we still have a lot of national reporting, data reporting, but within a member state, we have completely different pictures, completely different situations. So we need really to tackle this local context when we look at instruments and practices. We need means and resources, a proper framework and governance model, data to monitor and adapt the systems, resources to provide collection and sorting equipment at municipal level, and a good reason to act, meaning that reuse and recycling should be the cheapest option. And we know that it's not the case. So we need to put in place economic instruments, policies supporting the uptake of waste-based products, local targets aligned with local contexts, because if landfilling or incineration are still the cheapest option, we won't go very fast and far neither. So 3 points about what the Circular Economy Act should deliver. First of all, circular economy is not only a matter of waste management and recycling. So we need also to have prevention and reuse targets and strong circular products policy regulation in order to be able to have true resources in our waste that we collect. So another point, municipalities and citizens should not be the only one paying for non-recoverable fractions. And not only that, but in most of the case also, we do not distinguish enough between consumers and citizens. They are not the same. And when you look at EPR system, especially packaging, normally we should tackle the consumer and not all citizens. So not easy. Secondly, the existing EU legal framework shall be fully enforced. We have already a beautiful, I think, and a very comprehensive legal framework in the European Union, but we still need to fully implement it and enforce it. So we need better understanding of the shortcomings, a better connection between those shortcomings and national implementations, because again, the national level is not the local one. Better monitoring, controls, and sanctions when applicable, because a beautiful legislation, if there is no control and eventually sanctions, this legislation won't be very efficient. And a better taking into account of the local, the different local context. Third, we really would like to have more harmonized EPR schemes and rules. So, full cost coverage principle, it should be fully implemented and monitored. Full transparent systems, more harmonization when possible. Not easy because we know that we have a lot of different EPR schemes, competitive one, non-competitive one. So what does it mean, harmonization in such a complex puzzle? But we need it. We certainly need mandatory clearinghouse. It doesn't exist, or if it exists, it's really in few member states and not always functioning as it should be. And what is also important for us, because we have heard about the Ecolite presentation, it's not that we have to do a simple copy-paste approach from a product category to another. When we speak about electric devices, we don't speak about packaging for sure, and it's not the same product, so we don't have to rule them exactly on the same way. For us, it is important because municipalities, they maybe do not have exactly the same role and should be considered maybe in a different way in all the governance of the different systems. So thank you for your attention, and very happy to discuss with you about our point of view.
Thanks a lot, dear François. Very, very interesting, and I think a good basis also for the further discussion and for the next years. What we can do together, hopefully, all of us, in a better way to make it happen. Passing now the ball to Axel, our final speaker for today, before we have some time for discussion. Axel, as I said, you hold various positions, so in your brain there are various point of views, and probably you will make the best out of it. So I would be really interested to understand your current view, what should happen to make it happen, and to increase the situation that in the end, sometimes it seems to me that the legislation is designed for Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany, and we forget about all the other countries, which would be not my understanding of the European Union. So please, I'm
likewise, yeah,
curious.
You can hear me well, and like you can see as well the screen. Sorry for my nasal voice. I'm getting sick. Thank you so much for the invitations. Glad to be here and to present some recommendations, some thoughts. I'm indeed a consultant now. I'm part of a consortium of consultants working on circular economy policy, which is called Circulus. And we work all together on policies related to circular economy, consultations, design, and implementation of these policies across Europe, but as well outside of Europe. And we are 5 currently working on different circular economy policy angles and different EPR schemes. So the presentations today is only my perspective. It doesn't engage Circulus, and it's only like a neutral assessment of the policy trends. It's not a call for advocacy or lobbying. From my perspective, there are 5 to 6 points to have in mind for the Circular Economy Act. First of all, to reinforce the single market, to straighten EPR scheme, to use the economic levers together, to have public procurement as well as part of the circular economy policy dynamics, to straighten industrial symbiosis, and as well to include circular economy as part of the trade policy. The way we will design circular economy policy is depending as well on the symphony we would like to get. Is the symphony to have like competitiveness, resilience, and resource saving? If it's the case, then we need to find the right combinations and to include everyone on board. I'm really in line with what you said, Joachim, regarding the need to have like not only a policy for some countries, but really to get everyone on board. So first of all, to unlock the circular single markets, it's really important to have in mind this EU end of waste definition that is currently being discussed for the WE, but should be as well for other waste, in order to have as well a streamlined cross-border movement of secondary raw materials with like a digitalizations of fast track green corridors, having as well common quality standards for recycled inputs. So we already have, as you know, recycled content targets and requirements for some products, specifically for packaging. But by having these standards for other products, including with the ASPR implementations, we need to get the common quality standards in order to have the common same level playing field and having as well the shared responsibility between stakeholders, and aggregation of cross-border volumes, which make the link with the industrial services points we'll discuss later on, in order to allow circular materials to finally complete with virgin resource. Second point, it has been said as well by other speakers, and I fully endorse the point of Françoise regarding the cost of the EPR scheme, what should be the optimized cost and what should be the responsibility of the PRO with other stakeholders, including with municipalities. The ongoing discussion as well of having like a central body in order to monitor the EPR implementations and as well a one-stop shop approach in order to not having the fragmentations that we're currently having for some EPR schemes, in order to simplify the process while having the performance of the EPR schemes across the countries. And as well, linked with the cost coverage, having as well the eco-modulation parts, really to improve eco-design of products. It's going to be linked, of course, with ESPR sustainable criteria, but we need to really foster these points. It's for me like really a competitiveness and a resource sovereignty discussions. It's not only about sustainable discussions to have common requirements on eco-modulations. And since eco-modulations alone will not have the effect that we want to get on eco-design, we want to get combinations with other economic instruments. So meaning that we could have like a VAT reductions. That's part of the discussions we had a few years ago, back in 2023, as part of the European Council, which was a proposal from the Czech Republic on recycled content. I think we need to push against this discussion further of what could be the tax breaks for resource sovereignty, for recycled contents, and so on, in order to move beyond only the requirements, but to really get incentives for brand owners and producers to move forward in combinations with fee modulations, and as well getting like a tradable financial instrument to value the investments that stakeholders are doing on circular economy. So linked with a comprehensive vision of a circular economy taxonomy of what should be the top priority in terms of investments. The public procurement, it has been said as well, getting like a public procurement as a combinations of tool in order to push forward the demand on circular economy, meaning that by having like through the circular economy public procurement, having like specific criteria, having as well a performance-based long-term service contracts to keep materials loops closed, and to establish an harmonized EU framework to objectivize the measures. It's the case for many measures, but specifically about that one, given the fact that 14% of the GDP is from the public procurement. One of the other measures in terms of combination of instruments is, of course, to push forward the industrial symbiosis in order to have like interconnection between resources and waste from different industry. It could be pushed through Horizon projects, through EU funds. It has been pushed for several years, but I think it needs to be interconnected with the other measures. We don't have a clear link between fiscal tax incentive and this industrial symbiosis. We don't have a clear link as well with what could be the role of this industrial symbiosis in order to improve eco-design and to get this vision in terms of circular economy. So we could definitely use this, having as well what has been said earlier, this vision at the European level, not only few countries, but using as well these countries to strengthen this industrial symbiosis in order of having like a transitional circularity hubs by having this interconnection between few regions to foster and accelerate a circular economy and to minimize the cost of transport and the suitable impacts of the transport of waste and the resources used as well. And last but not least, to close the loop at the EU level and to get some rebound effects outside of the EU, I think it's crucial as well to have a circular economy chapter within bilateral and multilateral EU trade agreements, and to have a robust mechanism for the mutual recognition of circularity, durability, and eco-design standards. Apparently, it's going to be one topic of discussion as part of the next COP to get this circular economy vision as well. It should be addressed as well through the plastic treaty negotiations, which is currently in the lock-in situations. But in any case, through the trade agreements that the EU is pushing, if you look at, for example, India, one of the big one recently, we should have like really the circular economy visions in order to better understand the internal resource vulnerabilities. If you look at, for example, the Critical Raw Materials Act, and the trade relationships that we've got with some countries on circular economy in order to push forward this resource sovereignty and competitiveness. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, dear Axel. And if I may, I would like to immediately take one of your points and ask Françoise about it. Public procurement. This is one of the buzzwords, I would say, which is always said now as one of the solutions. And would would your members, François, be able to follow these new, if there would be a mandatory public procurement rule? Let's say, I don't know, just to use reusable things and just to buy reusable beverages instead of one way or whatever. Would your members be able to do it? And if it would be so easy, why didn't they do it up to now? Huh? If it is so obvious, huh?
Thank you, Joachim, for your question. It's not so easy. And for sure, our members, they really want to go forward with public procurement and circular public procurement. We are experts for DG Grow on the topic, and we work a lot, especially with our Dutch members, who are really front runners also. And what they say is that they want to spread what they do at national level because they are convinced that it has to be done worldwide or at least European-wide if we want to succeed with circular public procurement. What we see is that it's always, of course, a question of political willingness, but also of resources, human resources, expertise. So we always mention that public procurement is a strong instrument and we are all convinced of it, but we need to have the means to be able to go forward with circular public procurement, meaning that we need to have the knowledge in-house to be able to know the market, what is feasible, and what could be the technical criteria to be able to find someone or an enterprise that can answer to our demand. So it's not only about reusable cups, etc. It's much more. Yeah. And especially when you speak about, I think, competencies at municipal level, maybe it's not really the topic here, but building sector, the building sector is where we can really make a difference. But it's really not easy. And again, we have raw material against energy efficiency, how we can combine both and to find the right criteria. Not easy for a small municipality to have the technicities to be able to answer to this. So we are certainly, wanting, we really want to promote this, and we try to do it with our members and beyond. I mean, with we hope to have more and more person and members and municipalities and regions and national level, public buyers in general, keen to help for those circular public procurements. But it's not an easy task, and I can tell you that within this experts group, we try to listen to all point of view, and also within the municipal network, I would say, you have already different ambitions. Because, for example, the made in Europe or European preferences, it means maybe that it's not the price that we decide, and we know where we are. So it's not easy, but we do believe that we have to do it together, otherwise it won't work. And it's I think a must. It's really a very good instrument if well applied, but not easy.
Thank you. Thank you. Axel and Mark, you made one point about a common topic, as far as I understood, online sales and the famous one-stop shop. So first, the question to Mark. One-stop shop will solve online sales, just for the dimension. In packaging in Germany, we have 1.2 million Chinese companies registered. So the one-stop shop will make the life of 1.2 million Chinese companies easier, as they will now know how to register. I don't know how many are there in the we sector, but probably 100,000 or something as well. So if they register in this one-stop shop easily, your problems will be solved, Mark.
First, before the one-stop shop, I would like to start with the legal obligation. I mean, this is not normal. that the Commission a few years ago adopted this so-called Digital Services Act, where there was not clear liability, a vague obligation for platform to check their sellers. Now, at least on the paper, the Commission announced that they will try to solve it and force indeed checks by platforms of sellers. And we propose, but this is nothing new, that there would be an EPR number or a we register number, whatever number, and that is a tool, a practical tool for checking. So first of all, legal compulsory obligation, and then the electronic platform for a pan-European register. Yes, this can be suitable, but I don't say it's this that will solve it. We need the legal obligation first. Yes, we are favorable to an interconnection between the registers, national registers. We don't have time to discuss now, but it should be managed by a public administration or whatever, but for sure not by big tech companies, if you see what I mean.
Really agree with that point as well. I think there is a missing point also on the data. So it would be great to get a centralized data on that front in order to reframe, to reinforce maybe some policy measures for these stakeholders. And on the other side, it could reduce the cost in terms of compliance and not duplicate from member states to another one these reports, but fully aligned with what has been shared before by Mark.
Another question to François first. If I see how difficult it is in the countries to fulfill the targets, and if I hear that, and I know that you have many of the running cities and regions within ISWA Plus, are your front runners able to fulfill all the targets, or are even they struggling?
I think that you have good results in some member states. Well, I'm in Brussels, and I think that globally we can be proud of the results in Belgium. But even in Belgium, you have big differences from a region to another. So what is really important, and I think that I mentioned it during my presentation, is really to have a local context taken into account and trying to really adapt the solution to the territory. But it's achievable. What is really important is to have the right instrument put all together. And it starts with, I mean, when we speak about waste management, it starts with landfill tax and incineration tax at a sufficient level in order to, as I mentioned during the presentation, the municipalities, they have to have a why they have to fulfill the obligation. And if the cheapest way is still to put in landfill or to burn everything, we won't go very far. So, but with the right different instruments and yet a comprehensive system, yes, I think that we can reach the target. When you speak about, I mean, collection and recycling target. When we speak about different application of principles like the full cost coverage of EPR systems, I mean, the full cost coverage of waste management in different EPR systems, I'm not sure that even a single member state can say that it's completely fulfilled. So, but this is not maybe the target you meant. I don't know.
No, I meant now the easy targets, easy measurable targets, because the full costs, I think we could dedicate a one-day workshop to it. First to understand it. What are the costs, and then to see. But you're right. But just the easy targets from landfill recycling, sometimes collection rates. But I think this is very good news that you say they are achievable, because sometimes I'm starting to doubt. I have to admit. So then the question to Mark, the follow-up. Probably some of your members are able to fulfill the targets as well, and others not. Is
Yeah.
there a chance? Is there a realistic chance that countries who are lagging behind will be open enough to learn from others and to change their systems? Or is it only possible if there would be really pressure from Brussels? So are they willing to accept best practices?
I think we should not be too naive. I think there is a form of coercion that is first, maybe the targets are not very adequately done, not to criticize them or to put them down. But in the case of the electronics, it's linked to 3 years market data, 3 years in average. But in fact, you have products that are like 20 years, like a washing machine. So that's a bit, so, okay. And I am in favor of a bit of targets in the law rather than the best practice. You know, in 2017, you probably all know, the Commission made a compliance exercise analyzing how EPR was performing, especially for we, I think, at the time. And it appeared that some countries were, according to the Commission, outstanding, but they have measured many parameters, not only the collection target, how the awareness was done, and blah, blah, blah. For me, this is a bit too soft, all that. That's it.
Axel, you work now. Yeah, please.
Can I add something regarding, I think also it may differ from the type of products. I will not say a mystery, but for example, for mobile phones, it's very obvious that it's difficult to reach the targets because you have many products hoarded in the drawers of the public. Yeah. For example, a light bulb in our sector, we are a little bit fortunate that the target for collection is relatively high. I mean, it's not for putting everywhere in the press, but it's like around 55, 50, 55. I have even members who reach 70 when you apply the methodology for place on the market. But of course, when you have a mercury light bulb, it's easier to put it, to dispose it properly than the mobile phone that you don't want your photos to be going, I don't know where. Yeah.
Axel, you work now as a consultant, so you probably try to help companies, whomever, with best practices. So what can we do from your experience to facilitate the applications of solutions that are working in situations where we are in a mess? Because and what is the role of different actors? Is it more a role of the Commission to facilitate this? Is this the role of the associations like ISWA, like EXPRA, ACR Plus, or is it a paid role for a paradise for consultants to provide the people with best practices? So how can we move forward?
Well, the question is quite broad, but I don't have the crystal ball. But I mean, it depends first of all on the socio-economic context of each situation, depending as well on the country. I think it's always good to have good practices from other countries, but to better understand as well what is the transferability of these good practices. You cannot copy paste, as you know, a model from one country to another. Of course, makes sense. I think there is a clear need for the European Commission to get further data. To better understand as well the situation on the ground in terms of enforcement. As it has been said by Françoise, it's great to get a beautiful law, but if it's not enforced, I don't see the point of having a new law, in fact, except if you need to redesign some aspects. And I think as well, we need to better understand what's going to be the rebound effect of some policy to another within the EU and outside the EU. There will be some rebound effect, and this is why we need to be sure about this trade relationship with EU and other countries in order to better apprehend what's going to be the impact of these policies.
And if I may add something, I mentioned it also, but I don't know, I don't want to be too coercive, but I think that sometimes a sanction is also useful. We see it with the tax on plastics now. They are considering also something like that for we. Of course, it has to be maybe monitored before and controlled in a better way at national level to see how it works and if there are some efforts and because we know that we are not at the same level when I see I mean the different member states. But I think in a certain point we need also to control better, more, and eventually to put some sanctions, especially when we speak about EPR systems.
I would agree if all actors who are involved are facing sanctions as well. I'm really sorry. So I think we have to look from time to time to some municipalities as well. My favorite example, the city of Munich. It took them 35 years to check whether household separate collection is possible and not only collection at one eco point. So well, we all face our obligations.
No, but
so it's one
this
actor,
Joachim, okay with me also
all
that,
should be,
huh?
all
know,
should be. So perhaps we should finalize with a probably very controversial question from, of course, Piotr. That's I'm happy to see that you are here as well. ETS for incineration for waste to energy. I don't know whether the three of you have any view of this. So I think this treatment is quite controversial. Some people hate it, some people love it. I know that it delivered heat for my house during the horrible times when the war against the Ukraine started, and for friends the gas was suddenly expensive. So I think it's a very complex topic. But do you have any views on this? Is the involvement of this sector into ETS the right way forward to punish the use of an incinerator?
I will start telling that I really thank Piotr to get this question on the table today. No, I won't give an answer now. What I want to say, if it has to serve the goal. So I think that this is the first question we have to have when putting in place this. And we are in discussion with our members on that, and we follow this. And so I'm really pleased to give the floor to Axel, maybe on the topic.
Thanks for the hot potato. I mean, I think we need to get an impact assessment on that front. It has been said by a political group recently, first of all, and to think about the right combination of instrument once again. If it's to have a rebound effect on landfill by having this measure, and I don't think we're going to solve the issue, the overall problem on resource sovereignty and sustainable waste management. So maybe get better first, like an impact assessment, a proper one, and then think about the right combination of instruments, including that one. I'm not against, I'm just saying, like, let's see the impact before.
Thanks a lot. Our time is already over. I think it was a quick hour. Thanks a lot to our three great experts. And as always, the topics that we discuss are very complex. That's why we could only touch some aspects. And it proves for me always that there is a need for more discussion so that we don't do the wrong decisions which harmful effects that were not intended, like we do unfortunately from time to time, and that we need everyone, all of us, to make the next step forward. This is collaboration. This is really the key, and that is something I learned in ISWA, to better listen to the views of others, of all others, to understand their view, and then to find jointly the right idea to move forward. So that's why I can only promote to those who are not yet a member to join us, to especially also to join the European colleagues, the 10 great working groups, so that really we can move our systems a way up, because this is needed. I don't want to depend on non-EU materials. We have enough. We by far have enough. We just have to do it. So thanks a lot again to the three of you. Thanks a lot to all the listeners. And after the summer break, we will have another webinar, and hopefully it will be interesting for you as well. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.